Good evening and welcome to Enemy Within on peoplesinternetradio.com. It's Friday the 11th of December. So, wow, December's whizzing by. And welcome to evening of programming. Obviously, Suzanne kicked us off there with a satirical look at the American news. We're on till 9 o'clock, and then Martin Farrell's coming on at 9 o'clock, and he's got quite a show lined up. Martin's going to have guests Pat Green of DDI and Alan Laws of the National Citizens Movement. And apparently there's been an official announcement today made that Direct Democracy Ireland and the National Citizen Movement are to officially join forces. So that's quite a coup there, and I look forward to hearing all about that from Martin after we're done. But I was kind of having a bit of a kind of up and down afternoon because I'd got a show lined up, and the guy who was going to have on has been ill this week, so I kind of made alternative arrangements yesterday, and then my alternative guest suddenly realised that he's got a parents' evening at school this evening, so that didn't happen. So I was just going to waffle on a bit and play a couple of podcasts, but as often seems to be the case with Enemy Within, right at the last minute, something cropped up. And I just got a message from someone I haven't heard from for a while, and that is someone who's been missing from the PIR schedule for a few weeks. It's Danielle Williamson. Danielle, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hiya. Yeah, it's great to hear from you again. We've all been missing you and looking forward to getting you back on air. What's been happening with you?
Oh, what hasn't been happening? It's just been a bit of an emotional roller coaster. I actually ended up going down to Skeggy just for a night and ended up going to the arcades and stuff like that. Just get my head out of the proverbial. And basically, you just got to kind of find yourself in a way. And I think going down to the coast isn't exactly a bad way to go about it.
Well, funny you should say that. It was only, I think, 2 weeks ago that we went down to the coast for 4 days, and we met up with a couple of friends and shared a cottage for 4 days. Absolutely fabulous break. We got away from internet, phones, computers, all that kind of stuff. We went out, I don't know if you know, just north of Skegness, they've got the seal breeding grounds at Donanook. We went down there, took some photos and videos. We went round one of the old Lancaster bases, took my friends and showed them a bit of the Lincolnshire aviation history. Not terribly peaceful and passive solution there, but it was just great to get away and have a bit of a break. We even had a day at Skeggy in the arcades, funny enough.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of got into, I think sometimes, and I know this sounds stupid, but it is a bit of a case of actually sometimes getting in touch with that inner child, and just actually being slightly moderately immature for a change, because we do pretty much grown up stuff, don't we? To be honest.
Yeah, it seems like that sometimes. I mean, you mentioned that phrase there, emotional roller coaster, and I've talked to quite a few friends this week. I mean, I do seem to spend most of my life talking to people, and I thoroughly enjoy it, getting other people's perspective. But it does seem to me that an awful lot of people on this pathway, this journey that we're on, right now seem to be going through real roller coaster. I know personally for myself, this last couple of weeks, we seem to be hitting amazing highs, and then within a few minutes or a few hours, we get an incredible low. It's like Tuesday. I spent the day with Mickey Summers. Mickey came over, picked me up, we went over to Nottingham, sorted something out. Mickey did me a great favour, something I never thought would happen, but it did. And then when we got home, found out our good friend and sometimes Enemy Within presenter Jason Holmes had a heart attack, and he was in Sheffield Northern General, had surgery, and like, whoa. So we go from right up at the highs to right down there at the lows. And it seems that other people I talk to are going through this an awful lot just recently. And I just wondered if you had any thoughts on what might be, I mean, to me, it looks a little bit like the situation that we're in now is coming to a head. And, oh, sorry, I've just been told my mic's a bit low there, so I've just turned it up. Hope that's improved things. Things might be coming to a head, so everything's getting a little bit more tense. So perhaps people could do, keeping themselves a bit more grounded and perhaps taking a little break from things now and again. What do you think, Danielle?
See, the thing is, I'm a trusted member on Beat The Bailiffs and the Banks, and I have been, by a number of different people, said, take a break, Danielle. And it's like, and I know it sounds bad. I know that they're saying this all for my own good, and I love every single one of them for telling me it and delivering it to me straight. And the thing is, when you've got somebody saying, I need help, you do feel guilty.
Of course.
You feel so guilty, and even if like you know deep down that like what they need to do, and having to sort of say, look, go to somewhere else, it's kind of like, oh, really? Do I have to? But there are people out there that will help each other. Like we've all got to look after each other, because if we don't, who's gonna?
Of course. Well, certainly not the government, I'd say, and
yeah.
It's not always terribly healthy to rely on the National Armed Service, is it?
Well, no, and the thing is, I've just had a flip back on my Facebook, and apparently France are cutting off the Wi-Fi and public networking basically for everybody. So there's martial law going on over there, and it looks like they're going to try and do it over here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when we had that ninja show that we did last night with John McCann, Vin called in with the latest updates from the court on Claire Knowles, he said, they're making their big moves now, that, they're scared, they know the game's up, they're going to have to really push on. So he said, don't be surprised, folks, if we get a huge false flag in Ireland before Christmas. And I'm pretty much convinced we're going to get something along those lines in this country as well. Don't you?
Yeah, they're already starting, aren't they? They're saying prepare for terrorism, prepare for this, prepare for that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think they're doing this to perhaps, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. When you cross your arms and you're pointing in the opposite direction to one another and you're not sure where to go. I think they're trying to throw our minds, to be honest.
Cognitive dissonance, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, we actually did a show, I think it was a couple of weeks before Paris blew up there. Oh, blew up, sorry, the wrong word. Before it all kicked off in Paris. Oh, no, that's a football joke, isn't it? Before the alleged terrorist incident in Paris, and we kind of said, this is what we're expecting to go on, and that's pretty much what happened. So once you're kind of aware of the playbook, it's quite easy to spot these things, isn't it? I mean, the one that really confirmed it to me was the Boston Marathon. Now, I live in a little town in England called Boston, and I saw a headline the day of the Boston Marathon, terror drill or whatever drill at Boston Marathon. I thought, I didn't know we got a marathon in town. Clicked on the link, and it was the Boston Globe newspaper, obviously Boston in Massachusetts. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, oh my God, I know what's going to happen here. And I just knew straight away there was going to be a false flag incident. I tried to warn as many people as I could. Obviously, I hadn't got a voice on the radio then, so I couldn't get the word out perhaps as effectively as I might be able to now. But, I mean, up to that point, my partner, she'd been quite kind of struggling to believe what I was saying about false flags. But then when I said, look, this is going to happen, and it did happen, she kind of thought, well, I've got to give him that one, you know. And, I just see something like that is coming up. You know, we had the cranes falling over because it got windy in Saudi Arabia and crushing 111 people to death in the Grand Mosque. 111? It's a bit of a coincidental, number. You get 111, 33, 333. They're all over the place, as Lee often likes to point out. Yes, 77. 9/11 has got some quite occult significance as well, I believe.
It's to the power of 3, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When we go back to, there's a lot of people that will probably go, oh, there we go, Dani's, she's got a tinfoil hat on and I wear it with pride, I don't care. It's a lot to do with, like, Illuminati, New World Order and things like that, and I think sometimes I wish that sometimes we did hangouts because I could have screen shared this, but there is some significance in when me and Michael we talk on Skype like all the time. Yeah. And we've actually sat and gone through maps in our local towns, like round near our areas, or even towns that we live in, and we've found that like a court and a council and a police station, for instance, are all, if you look, they're in like a triangle, which is quite strange. I think that's quite strange myself, but it is something that's worth looking into. I mean, people probably think, oh, well, it's just coincidence. It probably is, but I don't believe in coincidences when it comes to this, to be honest.
So when you say about the court and the police state, are they laid out in like an equilateral triangle?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, you've got to assume, I know assumption's always dangerous, but you've got to assume that the architects who laid these towns and cities out were probably Freemasons, weren't they?
Yeah, I've just sent you one in the chat box. This is for Northampton. It's 3 of the biggest money makers in Northampton. It's the County Court Bulk Centre, and then there's the Royal Derngate and the Crown and County Courts, and they're all in pretty much a triangle. That's just the town near me. Yeah. And it is but in the middle of that is the Grosvenor Shopping Centre, which is quite significant. Seems like there's a bit of money making going on, and I've looked further into the map, and there's banks and everything in the middle of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that is interesting. I mean, I know if you look at the City of London, Washington, and the Vatican, they've all got a very symbolic Masonic layout. Interesting there, talking about false flags. Chris Minnie Haswell's put a couple of posts up in the chat room, and actually I did see at the corner of my eye that when we were talking about the emotional roller coaster, Minnie blamed Wi-Fi, which is quite interesting because when we had Barry Trower on the other week, he was telling us some pretty amazing stuff they can do with microwaves, Wi-Fi, whatever you want to call it. But Minnie says, could be subliminal messaging us, hence Facebook's gone, I feel better. Christmas Day reckons a religious war, false flag, not an actual one. And he says also take a look at the Hoover Dam for Freemasonry. Well, I believe pretty much everyone who signed the American Constitution, they were Freemasons, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I've only been awake. I'd say more aware of what's happening since literally November last year. It was just the beginning of November, which I thought was quite significant. That was thanks to Mr. Wesley Ahmed. He put up something about the BBC and Jimmy Savile and all of that kind of stuff. And I thought, what? What? Jimmy Savile? Rolf Harris? What? And then I got into it that way. And in the past year, I suppose I can't say blossom, that's a bit big-headed, but it does seem very significant that this awakening that I've had, there's still so much I've got to learn as well. throughout of this, if that makes sense, Andy.
Well, yeah, I think you're never too old to learn, and I think particularly in what we're doing, if you manage to go a day without learning something, you've probably spent the whole day in bed asleep. Because I don't know about you, but I'm just overwhelmed at the information that gets brought to me, the help that I'm getting, the encouragement. I'd like to say to all the people who've offered help and encouragement, we're really grateful for what you're doing. I couldn't have done what I've done without the help of some pretty amazing people, and there's a few of them there in the chat room, and those that are listening will know who they are. So thank you to you all.
Yeah, I've got to say thanks to a lot of people. I think if you've looked at my social media, like my Facebook, there's been one particular person that's just like tried to make me laugh through all the rubbish that I have been going through, and Chrissy Morris, Andy.
Oh, Chris! Oh, he's a scream, Chrissy, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm not singling anyone out or saying like there's a favourite, because there's lots of different people, just like through text message, through Facebook message, that have kept me uplifted. Some of the things that people come out with when they're trying to make you laugh, even when you're feeling like crap, it's just enough to make you just forget for that little minute. And sometimes you do need to not forget, but just take your mind off it for a second.
Just switch off and take a break. Yeah, here's an idea for you. I don't know if you've done it already, but there's quite a few of the listeners and have got together a playlist of some of their favourite tunes and gone on it was Thursday night up until last night, but it's changing to Friday, because apparently next Thursday at midnight we've got a new host joining PIR. We've got Mark Windows, who many of you will know from, dare I say, The People's Voice, but let's not talk about that too much. And also Windows on the World. So that'll be very interesting. But Tony's moving to a Friday night now. And just anyone who's interested, get your list off to Tony. It's Tony Hurst 9 on Skype. And just give him a little bit of information about yourself, because obviously one does get quite a few strange Skype requests, which often get blocked as spam. So just let him know what it's about. And those Thursday nights, soon to be Friday nights, really fantastic way to chill out. Just talking about what music you like, why you like it, what it means especially to you. Or just talk about anything that comes up as you go through the tunes. And I know Patrick Nee was on last night, and that was his second time on. I know my other half, Luby Lou, she's been on. We had Laurie, the main admin. I'm just trying to think. Oh, we had Keith Mann on the other week. Keith had a great selection. So yeah, get yourself a list, get it over to Tony and get yourself on there.
I've already just passed a tune on to him, the Waysea Manifesto. That is something that I do need to listen to when I question myself in a way. That was introduced to me by a friend, and if anyone ever needs to listen to something when they're doubting themselves, I'd recommend the Waysea Manifesto. It's just so uplifting.
It is, yeah.
It makes you feel like you're not on your own.
Yeah, I was listening when you got on the stream and played it the other day. I hadn't heard it for a little while, and I thought, yeah, that's really cool, that is.
Yeah.
So, did you drop me the link to that in Skype a little bit back?
Yeah, I did, yeah. I'm trying to think where it's a little bit further up.
Yeah, it's all right. Oh, there we go. Found it. Yeah. Yeah.
So it is about how you uplift yourself. Like sometimes you are stuck. I call it. It's like the child game, stuck in the mud. Because you do feel like sometimes you are stuck in steel-toed boots, stuck in mud. Sometimes you need somebody just to kind of reach out and say, "Come on, get out of them boots and get out of the mud."
I got stuck in mud when I was a kid. There was I think I was at my cousin's house, and there was some really deep mud. I went wading in it with my wellies, and it came just about to the top of my wellies. I never did get my wellies out of the mud, but I got in a right state getting out of them.
It doesn't matter about how messy you get. You always can clean yourself up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, as a little kid, you're always getting in bother about getting filthy. So, well, I was, because I was always getting filthy. Nothing's changed really. I used to do lorry driving jobs where you wear a collar and tie to go to work, but I still used to get covered in black grease. All the other guys remained nice and clean and tidy, but I got covered in black grease everywhere.
It is. I think when you actually get into your point, you've got to know when your breaking point is as well. I think that's another thing that people need to be more aware of, is their breaking point. I mean, I've never been aware of mine until obviously a few weeks ago. So, and it is all about how you handle it as well. Because if you don't handle it, you're going to end up cracking up. And it nearly happened to me. So, and it can happen to any one of us, really.
Yeah. It's, I mean, something that Tom said to me when I first started, he said, just, try and keep yourself as chilled out as possible and not allow yourself to be drawn in too much, because he said over the years that he's been doing it, he's seen so many radio hosts, either they crack up on air and just completely lose the plot and go off on one, or they just suddenly disappear and you never hear from them again. So I don't know whether that's an element of just fed up with trying to wake people up and give up and go back to sleep yourself. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I come from a long line of sheeple. And I remember I first started talking about TV licensing and how it funds, obviously, the BBC, Jimmy Savile, Rolf Harris. I could go on and on and on about the names. But I remember saying that to an aunt and my brothers, and they just sat there and laughed and went, no, you could go to prison if you don't pay your TV license. And I went, oh my God. That's when I thought, right, I'm going to struggle with my family, so I just tell everybody, anybody that's willing to listen, to be honest. And you'd be surprised how many people quietly are awake as well.
Yeah, I noticed there are a lot of people who they do know, when you start talking to them, they do know this stuff. They're just a little bit scared about talking about it, because everybody thinks they're the raving nutcase. But we're used to it now, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think the thing is as well, you've got to kind of think as to what's cracking, what's going on, and you've got to kind of, I think it is, like, I mean, I'm going to go back to, obviously, Wesley. He says lose the fear. You've got to, because the thing is, if you're scared, they've got you where they want you, basically.
Oh, Wesley's, he certainly doesn't seem to be showing any fear. I mean, we had him on as a guest a while back. I think it was podcast number 15. And Wes was talking about deaths in police custody, which has obviously closely affected his family. But what a guy. I met Wes when we went up to Bolton in July. And only July. Wow. It seems, at the same time, it seems about 3 weeks ago, and it also seems like about 2 years ago. It's really strange the way time's going at the minute. But
it's either dragging or it's going too quick, and you don't know which way it's going. It is mad.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I really admire Wes. He's got the right spirit there, and he certainly doesn't back off. You know, he gets a lot of stick. I see he gets a lot of trolling online, but he just doesn't seem to give a damn. He keeps ploughing on.
He does. I mean, he's had a lot. He's had so much happen, and I think, I'm not saying, like, it's just how he presents himself as well. Like, he pardon my expression, but he has got balls. He has, and the way he goes at Greater Manchester Police, it's like, that's what made me want to go after councils and social services the way I have, to be honest.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, I think we all have one person, or perhaps some of us more than one person, who kind of gave us a nudge in the right direction when we really needed it. I can think of a few names, well, quite a few, but it just seems to come at the right time when you're ready for it. Because if it happened to me a year earlier, I'd have just gone, "What are you talking about?" and walked away. You know, it's the talking on the radio. It's only just been just over a year for me now since I started talking on the radio. And at first it was only occasionally. Then when I teamed up with Tom, it got to 3 times a week. And then when we joined up with PII, I went to 5 times a week, and that got a bit silly. So we backed it off a bit and we cancelled the Wednesdays. We now do regular 4 days a week. But quite often there's a bit of a ninja show, or there's a few people in chat and the players on, so I'll stick some tunes on or some podcasts and whatever. So yeah, it seems to take over your life as well, doesn't it?
It does. Well, in the kind of part of the game I'm in, I mean, I'm getting people coming to me and saying, "Danielle, I've got this going on. This council's done this. What's my next step?" Mm-hmm. And it's about guiding people and getting people onto the right track. And I mean, how many evictions have I stopped now? 13. And that's not just in one in my area. That's like all over the country, pretty much.
Wow, that is a impressive number. Hopefully the 13 won't be too unlucky for you.
Well, 13 actually was very close to me. It was someone very, very close to me, and they really tried it. They really did. I mean, it didn't even go to court, but the point is they were trying to get this guy out. He's dyslexic, he's diabetic, he's got quite profound learning difficulty, and trying to basically say, we're going to get him out no matter what, is disgusting. And the way they've gone about things is just, and they're still going about things. We're still in a process of telling them basically back off, and they're just harassing him to hell and writing to him and saying, "You owe us this money and that money." And it's just ridiculous. And it all comes down to common purpose. I mean, I tried to email his she calls herself a housing officer, but she's actually part of a finance department in rents. And I tried to get a straight answer out of her. It took me 16 emails to get an answer out of her, and that's like backwards and forwards. And she doesn't seem to understand that she's held to accountability and transparency, the same as anybody within a council. That's the thing.
So I understand you've been uncovering some new information on councils as well. Did you want to talk about that tonight, or were you saving that when you make your triumphant return?
I mean, I can talk about it. That's not a problem, and then obviously reiterate on it. I did a Freedom of Information request, and this was inspired by Chrissy. He did a video on YouTube. We did 3 videos on YouTube of basically ringing up Epping District Council and asking if they get paid bonuses for housing evictions. I did one in the Northamptonshire area under a Duff name and a Duff email address. Basically, it was under Derek Trotter and Margaret Simpson.
Don't tell them your secrets.
Don't tell my secrets. I don't care. They can listen all they want. They probably are anyway, Andy.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And I turned around and said, "Listen, this is the questions." And one of them came back and said, "Actually, we do get paid bonuses through a scheme." Without actually I'm trying to think what it was. It was about making council housing available, and they do get bonuses. They said council, and apparently every local authority does, and that's the only council that admitted it. And I emailed, I think it was 6 or 7.
Wow. So people are getting bonuses for ruining other people's lives.
Yeah. And these people They don't actually hold records on them sleeping rough. They don't hold record of what happens after. They just basically kick them out and throw them. Well, basically kick them out and chuck them in the rubbish pile in the knackers yard, as I call it.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, what happened with Claire Knowles last night? I mean, it just beggars belief. It was International Human Rights Day. The comment came from Vin, obviously not in Ireland, because there you've got, I believe she's 58 years old, grandmother. She's released on bail because there seems to be some dispute over whether her being imprisoned is legal. And they say, well, it's okay, you can go, but you can't go within 100 yards of your own home. So when it's 7 degrees in Dublin, as Vin said it was when we were chatting last night, what the hell are you supposed to do? I mean, okay, I understand that Claire's probably got very good friends who taking care of her till she gets back in court on Monday, but I mean, what a state of affairs.
But because I haven't followed much on Claire, and I don't mean that like as a horrible thing, it's just that I've had my own stuff going on.
Of course, yeah.
How come she was actually in court? I mean, that's something, I'll probably sound like I'm being a donut, but...
Right, well, from what I understand, she'd been ordered to give up her property, but she was saying that because it was a void order, and it was void ab initio from the start, therefore the order wasn't valid at all. And when she went into the High Court, she started to put across a challenge to this, and the judge, I don't know the exact details of what he said, but he said she was brazen and ordered her to be committed to prison. Well, sorry, but brazen is there a legal definition for brazen? And what the hell's he doing? Just sending the people to jail on what basically amounts to a personal whim.
See, I'm looking at brazen actually.
But I mean, in view of the fact it's back in the High Court on Monday, perhaps we didn't ought to say too much more about that, because we don't want to cause any more problems than there already are there. And I understand Vin and Ben Gilroy are onto it and see very positive outcome coming from that. So we'll have to wait and see till after Monday. Yeah,
that's the thing, isn't it? It's one of them tough ones, isn't it? When you're fighting, you've got to kind of keep your cards close to your chest as well on the game.
Well, that's right. Yeah, you so often see so many people spreading it all over social media, what they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and you're basically warning people, because anyone who thinks that these networks aren't monitored is living in cloud cuckoo land, aren't they?
See, the thing is, they've got to have certain warrants as well, like Repo. I think they're called Repo or Ripper. But there is something, I'll send you the link anyway, Andy. It's about 9 of the top 9 hacking groups sponsored by the governments, and it shows different ones, and it's the actual companies, and they're actually sponsored and financially backed by the government, and that's in different countries as well.
Wow.
And they're doing it over here. They're doing it widely over here. Widely.
Yeah.
That's what GCHQ is about. And it's just like, they're just a pointless bunch of people, if I'm honest.
Well, it can't help, I can't help noticing that I think it was the day after the latest Paris attacks, you suddenly announced that there's a whole wedge of cash just suddenly appeared available for recruiting new spooks. Like, we haven't got enough people listening to our people. We haven't got enough people spying on our own people. Sorry, what sort of country are we supposed to be living in? Oh yeah, free and open democracy. Methinks not.
There's nothing free and there's nothing open until we start batting back and get enough people to start batting back. That's the thing.
That's right. Oh, crikey, we've got some good turnout in the chat room tonight. We've got 34 in there already. I just noticed Bernie Gadd's just showed up. Hiya, Bernie. And Jason, fresh out of hospital. Good that you're home, mate. And glad to hear you're on the mend, Jason. Just take it easy, mate, and be talking to you soon. Try and get over and see you anyway soon. But I've lost my thread, Danielle. Where were we going there?
We're going on about spying and...
Oh, yeah. It's, I mean, we've got more cameras per head of population than anywhere else in the world, as far as I'm aware. It seems that an awful lot of these security cameras are being operated by Israeli companies, which I find very suspicious.
Yeah.
You know, and then we've got the influence of the Tavistock Institute and the Royal Institute of International Affairs and what's the Fabians with the Labour Party. I mean, oh, come on, Jeremy Corbyn, is he real?
I'm a bit sceptical on Jeremy Corbyn. I reckon it's some kind of distraction.
Yeah, he's almost like the British Donald Trump, isn't he? I can't help noticing with Corbyn. Well, firstly, the initials kind of make me a bit suspicious. JC. Maybe it's just a coincidence. But then when you look how much he looks like Brian from The Life of Brian, Monty Python film, I'm thinking, hang on. And then somebody dug up an old episode of Yes Minister from, I believe it was 1982. And there's a character in there that is dead spit for Corbyn. Even the same constituency, which I believe is Islington, and you know that was all put out in 1982, and it's pretty much what's happening nowadays. So you've got to wonder how long these scripts have been written. You know,
I think they've been written for years, but nobody's put the link to it yet. Not very many people have put the links to what's been happening and what's cracking. But we need to get the sheeple awake. We need to start getting them to rise up and start saying, the government don't love you. I think of this time now as being very similar to 1984, or we've gone past it.
Yeah, well, I was, one of the things that I was really grateful for from school was kind of being bullied into reading 1984. And around the time I was doing my O-levels at school, most of the teachers were raving Marxists, and they were always talking about the glorious motherland and all this, and yeah, okay. But my English teacher really went quite deep into 1984, and he said, look, it's here. It's you know, very soon going to be here. It's on its way. Can you not see this? And when you started to look a little bit deeper, then you could see what was coming. And I'm not sure whether we haven't passed the stage of 1984 in a lot of ways now.
But the government are using it as some kind of instruction manual, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, when you look back at George Orwell and his connections, I mean, he was a public school teacher, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Quite well connected by all accounts. Real name Eric Blair, wasn't it?
Which is a very significant name, Blair. There's a film as well, V for Vendetta. We're heading towards that as well, I reckon. Yeah. If anyone's ever seen that.
That's the one where they all march on the House of Commons, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, and go back to what Vin was saying yesterday. He was saying that for the game plan to work in their favour, they need us to respond with violence, and he's appealing for calm and passive solutions. Now, I'd agree with that, but it does seem there's an awful lot of people getting awfully angry, and sooner or later something's going to blow, isn't it?
It's like shaking a bottle of fizzy pop, isn't it? It's going to come off, and then it could. But the thing is, we've got to rise above that, because they'll just try and get, can't remember what act it's called, but it's basically martial law, shoot on sight, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember what it's called. The one, the emergency powers of the government. Is that the one?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think it is. It's something. It's a new act or something they're trying to get in.
Oh, that new surveillance bill. Is that the one?
I think it is. That's just the start of it, though. I reckon it'll be shoot on sight, basically.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah, we could be doing without that, really, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, we're just coming up to 50 minutes, so I suppose now would be a good time to have a little bit of a music break, and wee break, put the kettle on, roll up a big fat one, whatever you want to do. Is that all right with you, Danielle? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, we'll have a couple of tunes and we'll be back in a few minutes then. And welcome back to Enemy Within, and tonight we're joined by Danielle Williamson. Hi, Danielle.
Hiya.
Yeah, so an interesting little chat while we were playing those tunes there. Where would you like to go with this in the second half then?
Whichever way, I'm easy going me. I'll just go with the flow. I've had a Bacardi, so I'm kind of like, yeah.
Oh, you're celebrating tonight, yeah. You've been through a lot of turmoil yourself, and you seem to be inside the winning post now.
Yeah, I'll be moving into my little room. I call it my little room. It's a little room, just what I need, really, just for me, and just to, basically get my own head together, as it were. So I'll hopefully be coming back on the radio in the next week or two once I've got everything moved and all that. So that'll be good. No,
that'll be fabulous. I know a lot of people will be looking forward to that. What have we got? We've got. I just looked. Somebody's posted a YouTube link in the chat room. What's that about? Oh, it's the Yes Prime Minister Christmas special. We could actually play that. It'd be worth listening to. I think this is the one they're referring to. Shall we just have a quick listen to that, Danielle?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'll play that. If you want to watch along with the link as we play it, Patrick's put the link in the chat room. So let's just have a listen to this.
I mean, like your manifesto promises, people understand.
Trouble is, looking back, I can't remember either of them making any categorical promises to me.
Well, then you have no problem.
Yes, I have. I've still to decide who to support. You see, it's not just a question of picking the winner. My support could tip the balance. The real question is, do I want to be Foreign Secretary?
Danielle, are you there? It appears we've lost the stream, so I'm going to restart the encoder and try and get it back. Hi, folks, and welcome back to Enemy Within. Talk about a last-minute show and things all going a bit strange. For some strange reason, I don't know what went on there, but I'm now locked out of Skype, so it's quite difficult to get Danielle back on the line. But I'll keep messing with it, and we'll see if we can get something sorted out. So while I try and get Danielle reconnected, or even reconnect to my Skype, I'll put on another couple of tunes, see what we can find. Something a bit seasonal, something to keep us all in the right frame of mind. Well, not quite this season, but it might just raise a bit of a smile. So I'll get back to you as soon as I can, hopefully with Danielle.
Cluster bombs that are being used in Yemen are made by a US-based company that receives investments from UK pension funds. Our reporter Laura Burden-Manley has more on this.
From his home in Coventry, retired teacher Paul hopes to put an end to what he calls explosive investments from his council. He tells me his local authority is one of 7 that oversees the West Midlands Pension Fund, which invests over £100 million per year into weapons companies.
I put those lists of investments together and with the list of arms producers, and discovered that 40 or 50 of them were present in the West Midlands. This money was coming from council tax.
Paul calculated that around 25p from every person's council tax is contributed into the £10 billion pension fund. Although cluster bombs are rendered illegal in the UK, a percentage of this fund is invested in companies in the US and Asia, where the making of the bombs remains legal.
We know of. One is called Textron, and the other is called Singapore Technologies Engineering. Textron is a firm based in the United States and has been supplying cluster bombs to countries such as Saudi Arabia, which recently used them in its attacks against Yemen.
I wrote to the fund manager to ask why they continue to invest in companies abroad that make bombs rendered illegal here in the UK. They said,
in determining our investment strategy, the fund considers that the best outcomes are achieved through active engagement and voting policy rather than pure exclusion.
So I asked them whether they would use their influence to pressurise these companies into halting the manufacturing of these cluster bombs. They responded,
the fund does not wish to comment further on this matter.
Under UK legislation, it is illegal to directly fund cluster bombs, but activists say these councils have found a loophole, as British law doesn't prohibit indirect funding of the bombs, something human rights groups say needs to change.
Now that we know these loopholes exist, the government needs to shut them down as soon as possible. But of course, part of the issue is that the government works pretty hand in hand with the arms companies as well. We know that arms company interests are always represented in the corridors of power.
The deadly arsenal of cluster bombs has been deployed in Syria, Ukraine, Gaza and Yemen, and continues to cause casualties in Laos half a century after the weapons were dropped on civilians. Paul believes that because local pension investments are relatively small, less than 1% of the overall fund, it would be easy for the council to switch to more ethical companies.
We have written to councillors, we have lobbied councillors, we've had face-to-face meetings, we had a petition.
Though Paul has now mobilised many people from the community to stand against the funding of cluster bombs, so far it's been to little avail, as the council has shown no sign of halting investments in the deadly munitions. Laura Bowden-Manley, RT, Coventry.
Hi folks, and welcome back to Enemy Within. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I might have expected it, really. We've had 3 power cuts before we started the show tonight, so not been locked out of Skype for an awful long time. Wonder what that's all about. It's like Chris said, we didn't mention cancer cures, so where's the problem? That's usually what gets it shut down. But yeah, that little podcast there I played, that was off RT today, and they're basically talking about pension funds funding the arms industry, which is quite a serious thought, and also taxpayers' money going to fund the arms industry. So essentially, I believe it's a criminal offence to give any money which knowingly or suspected to go towards funding terrorism. So there's an angle there for anyone who believes that paying the council tax is not right. We've also seen we've had various guests on explaining why we're not liable for council tax, how all these things are actually paid for, but the councils are just double dipping. But I did have a bit of a look through the news earlier on today, because I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen tonight. And I noticed we were talking a little bit earlier about Wesley Ahmed and the deaths in police custody, or death by police. And I see we've got another one today. The headline in RT reads, "Police shot man dead in," quotes, "intelligence-led," end quotes, "operation in North London," the Met confirms. Police have shot and killed a man in North London in an intelligence-led operation, and Scotland Yard has confirmed. The subject was shot dead at 0900 AM GMT. The incident occurred at Bracknell Close in Wood Green. Met Police spokesman said the man shot during the operation has died. Police have carried out an intelligence-led operation in the area of Bracknell Close, N22, this morning. They said in a statement, armed officers were in attendance. At approximately 0900 hours, a man received gunshot wounds. He has since died. No reports of any other injuries. 4 men have been arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to facilitate escape of an individual from lawful custody, the Met Police confirmed. London's air ambulance and ambulance service are currently at the scene. So, I mean, those of you that were listening to Suzanne Posel between 6 and 7 before we came on air will possibly have picked up on the figure that she gave out there. And from memory, I'm sure it was 1,061 people have been killed by police officers in the United States already in 2015. Quite an astounding figure. I mean, the odds quite clearly show that you're far more likely to be murdered by a policeman than you are by a terrorist. So, you know, we're getting all this funding suddenly magicked out of nowhere when we're in times of austerity and can't afford for, old people to eat and heat. Or eat or heat in some cases. You know, people are dying because they haven't got nutritious food. They're dying because they're too cold. And there's our government, allegedly our government, although I don't think they have anything but contempt for us, and they just look down their noses and laugh at us when we give our protests. They're just magicking money out of nowhere for whatever cause they like, and if that be ramping up the war against civilians, then that's the way it's going. And I find it a disturbing trend. And then there's also over in the USA, you know, the Utah curbs chronic homelessness by 91% in 10 years. That's quite a headline. State of Utah cut its number of chronically homeless people from 2,000 to 200 since 2005 after shifting away from an approach that required individuals who sought housing to prove that they had been alcohol and drug free. Yeah, well, a lot of people that kind of sank to the depths with alcoholism and drugs have done so because of the desperate state they find themselves in. You know, to say, well, to get out of this trap, you've got to show that you're clean, is a way of condemning a lot of people to not get out of that trap, because the help that they need to move forward is just not available all too often. If you happen to be a famous celebrity and you've got heroin addiction, you know, the treatment coming out your ears. But if you're someone who's sleeping on the streets and has got an alcohol problem or any other drug problem, then no. Be treated as a scum of the earth, and these people are being genocided, because that's what it is. You know, they're killing thousands of people every year, and that's just a judgment they make. Those people are not, their lives are not worth living. I don't know about you, but I think every life is worth living. Some people go down some wrong turnings and blind alleys, but if you drive in your car, you drive down a blind alley, there's only one way to get out of it, really. And that is not to keep driving at the end of the alleyway until your car gets smashed to pieces. The way to get out of it is to reverse back the way you came and do it calmly, and you will get out of it, and you will be able to join back in with life where you left off. Something I know from personal experience. I've been down some of those dark alleys, blind alleys, and yeah, I'm in a pretty good place now. It could be better, but it could be a lot worse. But right, I'm just looking at the chat room there. We've got some interesting. Chris is, I think if we had that, the FEMA camps would get used, Luby, unfortunately. Oh, what's Luby said there? Ah, yeah, here we are. If people in the truth movement put as much energy in getting together to fight these feckers instead of trolling and infighting, we'd have won by now. Absolutely. I'm fully in agreement with that. You know, we're at a pivotal time in human history, I think, now. It's going to go one way or the other. It's going to be either a very, very bright future, and in which we all thrive and lead wonderful lives, or it's going to be a very dark future under a totalitarian jackboot. And I certainly intend to give every ounce of effort that I've got to make sure we have the bright future, and we can all live together in peace and harmony. Maybe that sounds a bit too happy-clappy, but, you know, I really think we're capable of that if we get rid of these psychopaths that are basically running the show at the minute. I'm really watching with interest to see what happens in Dublin in the High Court on Monday, because it certainly seems that the people of Ireland are not going to settle for this, and are really looking forward to seeing what happens there and seeing what positive results they can bring forward from this. But that will remain to be seen on Monday, and I'd like to wish Claire and Ben Gilroy all the luck in the world. I hope they don't need luck, but I'm sure they've been doing their homework on it, and they'll be going in there with a peaceful approach, with passive language, and let's hope they get the desired result. We're now looking at the thought crime agenda. I mean, this whole thing, it's been spouted about across the media that if we oppose the bombing of Syria, then we're domestic terrorists or terrorist sympathisers or non-violent extremists, whatever today's buzzword is. But to me, if you oppose genocide and war crimes, which is what we are seeing going on now, they call you a terrorist. That is some kind of Orwellian doublespeak. I for one, I oppose all wars. I don't want any of that happening in my name, and I'll certainly do whatever I can to prevent it happening in future. And if that means speaking out against this government, then I'll continue to do so until they shut me up. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. If we get enough of us together and stand there and say, okay, you've had your turn, now let's show you how we can do it better, then there's not really a lot they can do about that. There's not really a lot they can do to stop us. Just a thought, when I played that last podcast there, for some reason it jumped on halfway through that Radiohead track that I was playing, especially for Mark in the chat room. And by the way, Mark's coming on Enemy Within with us very soon. I believe it's next week. I'm not sure. Let me just look at the planner. Yes, we've got Mark, commonly known as Mark, from the chat room. He works with the Love Kitchen in Liverpool, and they do some great work feeding and helping homeless people in Liverpool. So I'll be really looking forward to talking about that with Mark. But just for now, I'll play the song from the beginning again for you, Mark, so you can enjoy it. And I'll be back in a few minutes, folks.
Our automated payment line, please press 1. Alternatively, please hold to speak to the next available agent.
An agent.
Please enter your Newlin reference number followed by the hash key. If you do not have a Newlin reference number, please continue to hold.
So, let's see. Hello mate, I haven't got a Newlin reference number.
Now, this call, mate, is not going to follow your script or anything, mate, but I rung up earlier because I bought a car off a guy that you've been threatening to clamp. Now, I'm nothing to do with his debt. And I've got home, and I've heard my dog's barking in the back garden, and I've shouted for me mum. She's in her 70s. She's not replied either. And I've wondered what this van's doing on my drive. So, I've walked down the side of my house, mate, and I've seen a clamp next to my car and a mobile phone, which is obviously belongs to the person putting the clamp on. So I've walked down the side of my house, and my old mum is sitting on a deck chair at the bottom of the tree with a dog's barking at something in the tree. Guess who's run down my garden after illegally trying to take my car and has now got a 70-year-old woman in a fluffy pink dressing gown sitting with an air rifle pointed at him and two large dogs barking at him. It's one of your guys, mate. Now, I want to know, mate, how we're going to resolve this situation. No, don't put me on hold. If you put me on hold, I'm putting the phone down, mate, and you ain't got no way of getting in touch with him because his mobile phone is sitting on my drive next to the clamp. So he... Well, no, you put your TL... Who's your TL anyway, and what's it got to do with TL?
So they, obviously, I'll pass the phone on to him.
Don't put me on hold or I'll hang up, mate, and he can sit in that tree all day. She wants to put petrol at the bottom of the tree and burn him out, by the way.
Okay, just bear with me. I'm going to put you on mute and just go to my...
Don't put me on hold, just grab him and tell him to come on the phone now.
Okay, that's fine.
You put me on hold? Hello?
Hello, yeah, I'm just going to transfer your call to my TL now, okay?
What is a TL?
Team leader, manager.
Right.
Okay, you're going to be on hold for literally 2 seconds, they just transfers.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
How are we going to resolve this then?
Oh, hi there. Yeah, you took to my name's Ben. I'm a team leader here at Doolin. Yeah, hi there. I took the call off my agent. What's actually happened? Your car's been clamped?
No.
Oh, right, okay. What's the situation?
The situation is I've got one of your guys hiding up a tree in my back garden with an old lady with an air rifle and two nasty dogs at the bottom of the tree.
Oh, right, okay.
Now, his mobile phone is on the floor next to the clamp that he didn't finish putting on a car that belongs to me and not the guy that owes you money. Now, I phoned in earlier and I said not to go near my car. And you guys have come round and tried to clamp my car. Now, I've got nothing to do with you guys, but your fella is stuck up a tree with two nasty dogs and a 70-year-old woman with an air gun. How are we going to resolve this, mate?
What's your registration?
I'm not giving you my registration. I've already given you my registration. Because if I give you my registration, you can trace where he is and get him help.
What would you like me to do then? 'Cause I'm a bit...
I would like you to give me a verbal agreement on the phone right here and right now. You will never come near my car again.
Yeah, I can't do that.
So you'd rather your guy gets beaten, shot, chewed and abused up a tree all afternoon until someone reports him missing?
That would be, yeah, a matter for the police. I can't verbally say to you over the phone.
It's not a matter for the police, because no one's armed him yet, have they? And he is trespassing on my property. Illegally.
No, I wouldn't be able to do anything like that to appease you.
So you would not be able to save your workers, your colleagues' bacon?
That's correct, yeah, in that scenario.
Mum! Start the fire! Light it! Yes! Alright, mate, thank you.
No trouble, thank you. Goodbye.
Attention all you rule breakers, you misfits and troublemakers, all you free spirits and pioneers, all you visionaries and nonconformists. Everything the establishment has told you is wrong with you is actually what's right with you. You see things others don't. You are hardwired to change the world. Unlike 9 out of 10 people, your mind is irrepressible, and this threatens authority. You were born to be a revolutionary. You can't stand rules because in your heart you know wants them eliminated. So your whole life you've been told your strengths were weaknesses. Now I'm telling you otherwise. Your impulsivity is a gift. Impulses are your key to the miraculous. Your distractibility is an artifact of your inspired creativity. Your mood swings reflect the natural pulse of life. They give you unstoppable energy when you're high, deep soulful insight when you're low. And diagnosed with a disorder, that's society's latest way to deny its own illness by pointing the finger at you. Your addictive personality is just a symptom of your vast, underused capacity for heroic creative expression and spiritual connection. Your utter lack of repression, your wide-eyed idealism, your unmitigated open mind. Didn't anyone ever tell you? These are the traits shared by the greatest pioneers and visionaries, innovators, revolutionaries, procrastinators, and drama queens, activists on the social scene, space cadets, and mavericks, philosophers, and derelicts, business suits flying fighter jets, football stars and sex addicts, celebrities with ADD, alcoholics who seek novelty, first responders, prophets and saints, mystics, and change agents. We are all the same, you know, 'cause we're all affected by the way. We are all the same, you know, 'cause we're all attracted to the flame. You know in your heart there's a natural order, something more sovereign than any man-made rules or laws could ever express. And this natural order is called the way. The way is the eternal substrate of the cosmos. It guides the very currents of time and space. The way is known by some as the will of God, divine providence, the Holy Spirit, the implicate order, the Tao, reverse entropy, light force. But for now, we'll simply call it the way. The way is reflected in you as the source of your inspiration, the source of your passions, your wisdom, your enthusiasm, your intuition, your spiritual fire, love. The way takes the chaos out of the universe and breathes life into it, giving it divine order. The way, when expressed by the mind, is genius. When perceived through the eyes, is beauty. When felt through the senses, is grace. When allowed into the heart, is love. Most people cannot sense the way directly, but then there are the wayseers, the keepers of the flame. Wayseers have an unexplainable knack for just knowing the way. They sense it in their very being. They can't tell you why or how they arrived at the right answer. They just know it in their core. They can't show their work, so don't ask. Their minds simply resonate with the way. When the way is present, so are they. While others are blind to it, and society begs you to ignore it, the way stirs you inside. Neurological repression blocks most people's awareness of the way. Censoring all thoughts and impulses from the unconscious is their prefrontal cortex, the Gestapo of the brain. Nothing which violates its socialized programming even gets through. But your mind is different. Your mind has been cracked wide open to the way by some miraculous genetic trait, some psychotropic chemical, or maybe even by the will of your own soul. Your brain's reward pathways have been hijacked. Dopamine employed to overthrow the fascist dictatorship of your prefrontal cortex. Now your brain is free of repression. Your mind free of censorship. Your awareness exposed to the turbulent seas of the unconscious. Through this open doorway, divine light shines into your consciousness, showing you the way. This is what 90% of human civilization is populated with those whose brains are blocked to the way. Their brains are hardwired to enforce the social programming indoctrinated since birth. Unlike you, they cannot break out of this programming, because they have not yet experienced the necessary revolution of mind. These programmed people take social institutions and rules very seriously. Society is full of games programmed to keep people's minds occupied so they will not revolt. These games often cause sick fixations on peculiar protocols, power structures, taboos, and domination, all subtle forms of human bondage. This distinct form of madness is not only tolerated by the masses, but insisted upon. The programmed ones believe in rules so forcefully, they become willing to destroy anyone who violates them. Wayseers are the ones who call their bluff. Since Wayseer minds are free to reject social programming, Wayseers readily see these social institutions for what they are, imaginary games. Wayseers comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. Helping those who are lost in these games and refuse to help themselves is the calling of many Wayseers. Since Wayseers are the ones who keep contact with the original source of reality, they are able to disrupt societal conventions and even governments to realign humanity with the way. The Wayseers are an ancient lineage, a kind of priesthood, carriers of the flame, ones in the know. There must always be Wayseers to reform the dizzying, psychotic, spinning wheels of society. Giant, mindless hamster wheels obscuring the pure blue sky, keeping humanity shackled in a darkened cage. So Wayseers are called to shed light on the madness of society, to continually resurrect the timeless, transcendent spirit of truth. Wayseers reveal this divine truth by devoting themselves to the birth of some creative or destructive act, expressed through art or philosophy, innovations that shake up industry, revolutions for democracy, coups that topple hypocrisy, movements of solidarity, changes that leave a legacy, rebellions against policy, spirit-infused technology, moments of clarity, things that challenge barbarity, watersheds of sincerity, momentous drives for charity. We are all the same, you know, 'cause we're all affected by the way. We are all the same, you know, 'cause we're all attracted to the flame. This is your calling, Wayseer. You found your tribe. Welcome home.
Hiya, and welcome back to Enemy Within. We seem to, fingers crossed, overcome the technical problems. We've now got Danielle back on the line. And just before we carry on to the end of the show, I'd just like to say that we've got quite an exciting weekend coming up here on People's Internet Radio, and in particular with Enemy Within. We've got Martin Farrell with Let's Talk, and he's got DDI, he's got Pat Green of DDI, Alan Laws of the National Citizens Movement, some big news coming out there. Not sure what's happening for Lee's slot on the dark side of the room, whether everyone's jumping on there. Followed by 1 to 3 a.m. We've got Cockney Winker Tony Hurst with his PIR tunes. And then on Saturday, we've got Enemy Within kicking off again at 2 o'clock. And we've got a brilliant guest on there, a guy who's been on with us a couple of times before. And we've got the marvellous Bernie Gadd. Hiya, Bernie. I know you're there in the chat room having a listen. And really looking forward to speaking to you and Rebecca tomorrow. And then on Sunday, we've got, on our Spreaker channel, we've got Sarah Goodley back for her monthly slot. Sarah's always got great information, particularly with the kind of natural health field. And this week, Sarah's going to be joined by her sister, Kate, who I know she's been trying to get on for a long time. So really looking forward to that one. And then on Tuesday, we've got... Who have we got on Tuesday? Oh, we've got Paul, our high-level financial insider. He's going to come on and give us a bit of an update. And then Friday, we've got Mark Cox of the Love Kitchen coming on with us. So really looking forward to this next week. It's going to be most interesting. Danielle, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, so we've got a few minutes left till the end of the show, and Martin comes on. So, have you got anything else you'd like to touch on?
Well, the thing is, with that song that you just played, where you see, I mean, there's a lot of things going on in the chat box with people saying, it is an uplifting tune. I tend to listen to that when I doubt myself and my activism and what I do to stop the corrupt. And I think maybe people need to take a bit of time out for themselves if they are feeling like they're going to get... It's about knowing your limit, isn't it? I reckon, like I've said before.
Yeah, I think it's so important to just take a little break from time to time and just get your head together. I've seen people get really down with... this whole emotional roller coaster thing we were talking about earlier, it is so draining to be on such a high and then to come crashing down. To do it once or twice in a month is, a bit tricky. But when it's happening day in, day out, it's just really difficult to cope with. And I've seen it make people ill. And the only way I can see to get over that is to kind of just take that little step back and to get yourself on the right track again, get grounded, get feeling more positive, and certainly keep in contact with the people who do keep your spirits up, because I think we all know that some people sometimes that we are in contact with, they maybe bring us down a bit. Perhaps it's time to just kind of try and just push those people to one side a little bit and go with a more positive feeling till you get back in your own power. I mean, I don't know what you think, Danielle.
I think that's basically summed up everything that I was just thinking, to be honest.
Maybe this telepathy thing's got something in it then.
I wish it would be the same with the Skype, because obviously there was that big chunk that I missed, and it's modern tech. Well, I say modern. It's... Maybe I said too much.
Well, it used to work quite well till Billy Boy got his hands on it, didn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But it's just mad how when you are in the moment, when you're helping, in my case, it's like helping somebody, and then you just come down, and it is it's just absolutely madness how something like that. See, I've been batting on like this for a year, constantly. I haven't stopped. So maybe it has taken a bit of a toll. I mean, this is why, when you said about the roller coaster, it is. You go up, you go down, sometimes you go through loops.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I know from my experience, it can be very draining. Like I say, I found that break where we went away to the coast for a few days, I found that absolutely incredible. I know Jason's got himself out of hospital. He's at home now, but I'm hoping we'll get over to see him sometime this week. We might also nip over and see Frags in Manchester as well, if he's up for it. So yeah, that day or two's break away can make all the difference and help you get your focus back.
Yeah, definitely. And you're not in it on your own. I think that's one thing because it is quite a lonely thing, isn't it, sometimes?
Well, it can be, because some people perhaps get the impression that we're all in a studio and we'll meet up, but in reality, it's quite difficult to meet up because we're all spread all over the US, the UK, Ireland, Scotland, spread all over the shop. So meeting up's not always an easy thing to do, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. But it is. It's just. I think the thing is when you're taking a bash in as well, because it depends on what you're doing. I mean, with radio and stuff, it's different. I I do a lot, like, obviously, out of there when you have got the bashing of, I don't know, a council or a police force. I've got a police force harassing me at the moment. And, yeah, it's just literally, I mean, I get stopped, passed my test, 3 months ago? And in them 3 months, I've been stopped 6 times.
Oh, crikey.
All because they want to have a chat with me, Andy.
So does that mean all these policemen are lonely?
Yeah, I mean, I've got films on my phone, and I just say, well, you got nothing better to do, you ain't got no criminals to catch.
Yeah, I suppose that'll go down like a fart in a spacesuit, won't it?
I like that fart in a spacesuit. They just turn around and say, no, we need to talk to you about your driving. I said, well, I've passed, so, whatever, and they just say, well, I say, am I being detained? No. Well, I'm leaving. And I drive off, and I leave them standing, and they just look at me like, the look of disbelief on their face when I drive away.
Yeah, that's fabulous. I always like to see that, and especially enjoy seeing the films of it. We're right at the end of the hour now. Just got time for a little tune left to play out. So I'd like to say a really big thank you. It's been marvellous hearing you again, Danielle. And we're all looking forward to hearing you back on the radio. Is there anything you'd like to give out before we go?
I think I've said everything. When you just blah 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 blah.
Okay. Well, in that case, big thanks for coming on tonight. Right at the last minute, it was only 5 to 7, wasn't it, when I told you that we could get you on? But I'll hand you over now to Martin Farrell. Stay tuned. He's got some really hot stuff lined up for you. Thanks again, Danielle, and we'll play out with John Lennon.